Welcome to the Moms on Maternity YouTube show and podcast. I'm Aimee Cruz, the founder of Moms on Maternity. Today we have on Arti Kumar-Jain. Arti is the executive director of Holistic Life Care and the founding director of Love and Light for Kids. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Aimee?
Good, thank you. It's so nice to talk to you. You've put a lot of work into the space that we're very passionate about here in terms of family relationships, parent-child relationships, kind of self-care, mindfulness. Tell us a little bit about all of your kind of credentials and studies.
Sure, for sure. And so one of the big focuses I have is on authenticity and transparency has become a big. So I just wanted to tell everyone, my name is pronounced Arti Kumar-Jain, and I've been working really hard in this period of my life to do a little bit of name correction because.
How did I say it?
Arti, which I have a part of me that goes by like back in college and like my teaching years, but I'm trying to be really good about name pronunciation now.
Awesome.
Yes. Anyway, so Aimee, the transparency that comes with me is that I love working with children because they are the most transparent things you'll ever encounter. They're real, they're authentic, and I have learned so much with them and working with them. And with that, of course, when I became a mom myself, I think it really helped me become a better clinician because I did parenting groups before I had kids. And I did always have that empathy, but truly I wasn't getting the entire picture probably. And they were probably thinking, what does this 20-year-old know about parenting?
Let's back up. So you were working with families and kids before you became a mom, correct?
Yes, I've been doing it for a long time. So I started off in a little background. I actually was a former elementary school teacher. I was a preschool teacher before that. I've always been in education and loved kids. And then I moved into clinical counseling and worked a lot with youth and families and parents in different settings.
So what kind of training did you have to go through to have those types of roles?
So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in international studies. And then I decided I became a kindergarten assistant because I wanted to see, is this something I want to do? So then I really loved the classroom. Then I pursued a master's in elementary ed. So I was certified from PK through sixth grade. And then I taught inclusion classrooms with special education needs. I had a year that I really focused on autism. Really became a better teacher after that year, truly the rest of my career. And then I moved into mental health because I decided I was really focused a lot on wanting to do the social emotional needs more than like the teaching of the content. And so then I pursued my master's. And
so then you pivoted from being an elementary school teacher focusing on kindergarten to a general kindergarten teacher to more of a mental health professional. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And that also shaped me truly as a better teacher, because the holistic way of looking at a child, I was able to not always look at the behavior, the overt behavior. I became more compassionate and empathetic to looking at what was really happening to that child holistically, the big picture for them.
So tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, what is the spectrum of mental health and how do you look at someone holistically, a child or an adult?
A great question. So for instance, and I know this is a big push in education now, you never just look at a child for the overt behavior. Like, are they hungry? Are they lonely? Are they tired? Like we should never go to a grocery store if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Same with kids. What's happening with them? I do it all the time. No, but what I'm trying to get at is to look at a child like in that lens, like, are they tired and they're reacting? Are they hungry? And even with our own children, right? I forget to do this sometimes too, but if we kind of develop that acronym for ourselves and for our children, it can be really empowering to start looking at them in a different lens and not focus so much on that behavior. The behavior is always calling for something else and then we have a shift as adults. Oh, wait, this is calling for us. So let's go ahead and do a shift in our mental space and then really serve our kids. So holistically is really looking at nutritionally, sleep deprivation, and sometimes even kids who look like they're sleeping solidly are really not. Like especially right during COVID. They're maybe going to bed earlier, or parents are trying to put them to bed earlier, but they're still laying down. I mean, they're lying awake at night. That anxiety's been kicking in. So yes, so nutrition and sleep.
What are the causes of anxiety in a child?
You know, we use that word a lot. And so I just want to remind our listeners and viewers that anxiety, my definition, I'm not talking about the clinical definition, which the DSM is the Diagnostic of Statistic Manuals, which is the embodiment from the American Psychiatric Association. I'm going to be very clear that I'm giving you my definition, which is the idea when we in our bodies and our mind become a little bit fixated with something that it cannot allow us to function. So for instance, it could be like, I'll give you an example. I had a spot on my shirt and I like dabbed it with water, but I became very nervous about if I need to change my shirt. And I was like, wait, I'm coming on Aimee's show. Do I have a moment to ask her if I'm going to be able to see this on camera? I became a little fixated with it while I was getting ready. And so if that happened for a longer period of time, that anxious thought is overtaking me, being like, if I was thinking about it right now and it kept coming back to me.
Is that a flaw in the human brain?
That's a great question. It is called our monkey brain, and I forgot who termed that coin because it's being tossed around. Right? Yeah, our monkey brain is literally, the beauty behind the human mind is also that it's got pros and cons. And one of them is firing rapidly, those neurons, but they can also cause us to do crazy things in our mind. Yes.
Interesting. So how do you serve the community through Light and Love and Light for Kids?
Sure. Yes. So we provide coaching services for parents, childs, and families. I do a lot of consulting work. So I have contracts with various agencies. Recently, I just did one for clinicians, a wellness workshop, just a 1 hour. We did some chair yoga and some mindfulness with them, and had a little processing and journaling.
What does the mindfulness section look like?
So mindfulness for clinicians, because I do both.
Is that the one you did? Okay.
Yeah, that was for clinicians, self-care for clinicians who take care of youth and children. That mindfulness was just doing some guided relaxation during our workday. It was really, they found it really helpful to just close their eyes and get to have a few minutes to themselves.
It's pretty impactful, especially if you never do it.
Totally.
Do you meditate, or do you actually have a time you take out of every day to?
Great question, Aimee. In total transparency, the last 2 weeks I've been all over the place, so it hasn't been that well accompanied, but I got myself grounded today, and I was like, I did spend 5 minutes.
How did you get yourself grounded?
I reminded myself I was like off the kilter, missing what I love, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I preach it all the time. I'm like, wait, I can't be telling other people to do this when I know in my heart what it does for me.
Something you said to me in an earlier conversation we had was like, stay present, or like something along that line. And I thought that was really a nice way.
Yes. So Aimee, there's no guilt associated because I've let that go. So I realized I was a little off balance. I gave my permission to have my 2 weeks. I also noticed my eating patterns. So something was happening with me. I haven't put my finger on it. It could be that I'm close to PMSing. Probably so, right? Regardless of always trying to give things a reason, I'm just riding the wave, and then I'm ready. I mean, I've already started to come back to my practice, and on Monday, I've already committed to eating the way that I normally eat, which is pretty clean on Monday through Friday, you know?
Okay.
So,
and I like what you were saying earlier about nutrition and sleep being such a big part of your programs.
Yes. Aimee, so on my nonprofit side, I am a certified health coach, and I've been looking at nutrition for about 4 years very closely, but especially now in mental health. So I do a lot of work at looking at ADHD and mental health, and I do a lot of work at looking at cancer and cancer and nutrition too. That's a big passion of mine. But really, all of it is showing that there is such a need to start paying attention to what these kids are having access to and what they're putting in their bodies, and things like in the morning. For a lot of these kids, as much as even I at times, like we have cereal once a week, and I tell the girls like we can't have it all the time because cereal has an abundant amount of sugar for the morning. It's easy, but we have to kind of reframe, especially for kids who are diagnosed with ADHD and on the spectrum. Like cereal's got to kind of like be curbed, or you have to look specifically to watch how much sugar. And there's some brands out there like Kashi and a few others, they're not on my mind, that have definitely taken time to, and
So what
Cascadia.
are alternatives to cereal for breakfast? Because my kids just love cereal, as do
I
I.
know, as do I, girl.
Yeah.
I grew up for cereal for breakfast.
Yeah.
I mean, dinner, like I love it too. So
Right?
I mean, I have to tell you, like twice a week, twice a week. But the biggest thing is, Aimee, even before cutting out the cereal, it's really paying attention to protein for kids in the morning. And that can come through smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
Smoothies are great because
Smoothies are easy too.
they
Those
are easy.
Yeah.
Smoothies are great. Stick a dollop of peanut butter or almond butter.
Great idea. So what you do, a peanut butter almond milk one?
I haven't been, but I do my smoothies for my kids for snack.
But you
Because
put
I have
peanut
more
butter in
time.
your almond milk, and what else?
You can do peanut butter, tablespoon of peanut butter, but more than peanut butter, I suggest almond butter has more protein.
Almond butter, got it. Okay.
Yeah, peanut butter is great. I would tell you to do the peanut butter to really taste it. I'm all about it with the carrots and the kids love it too. Remember, they love dips and spreads.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so I would stick to peanut butter with crackers or carrots and celery, and let the almond butter, because kids, especially, I've noticed.
So what do you put in your smoothie? Almond butter and what else?
Almond butter. I tell you, banana, spinach is really important for that iron. And Aimee, I stick frozen fruit during the times I can't have access to fresh fruit. I live near the farm, so we're going to get to have fresh strawberries and blueberries. But during the winter, I'm strictly I have to think about accessibility. I also want to remind everyone who's listening, when you do buy produce for your kids, like always pay attention to what's in seasonal, because it can truly affect our gut health when we're eating off seasonally for our kids too. There's a whole big topic on this. We could talk about it forever, but those are just some hints.
Oh, so thinking back to family best practices and family health. So we talked a little bit about kind of protein, cutting out some sugar nutritionally. What about some other healthy family practices?
Aimee, let me reverse back to cereal. I don't want anyone thinking that cereal is not okay. I just want to remind to look at the sugar content. That's all. Just label read, because even in my family, I'm being completely frank with you. My family's not giving it up. My girls, I have to be practical. I'm just asking our listeners to pay attention to how much sugar. You would be floored how many grams.
Yeah. You know what I do? I actually pour the cereal in a bowl, and then I just add like raw oats to it, just to like make it less of just the base. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Totally. That's great. So just want to remind everyone, I'm just encouraging you to take a look at the sugar, but for ADHD kids, especially, or kids who are diagnosed.
Oh, actually, let me ask you a question. How old are your kids right now?
My girls are, one's actually going to be 7 in 2 weeks. And then I have a 5-year-old.
7 and 5. So how has your career changed from before you had kids to when they were babies and toddlers to now a little bit older?
That's a great question. So Aimee, when my almost 7-year-old with her, I was working at a practice about part-time, because I had this dream, if I had the opportunity, that I wanted to stay home with my own kids, because I'd served so many other people's children, right? And I also knew that was something I wanted to do. So I was really blessed to be able to have that time. So I was working about 10 to 15 hours in a practice. But I remember when, at times my mom would help watch her if my husband had to travel, and my little one would look at me, when they look at you when you're leaving, like with their toddler and they're waving, I was like, you just realize how precious they are and how quick it goes. When I was pregnant with my second, that's when I was like, wait, let me just take a break. Because how am I going to do this? Like, how am I really going to have a traveling husband? Even though my mom is around, she can help, but still, I really want this time. So I did take a leave. And what I did was I was working with my old practice, still doing like lots of webinars and workshops, and she would schedule with me because we could do on the weekends, we could pre-record. So I did a lot of that kind of thing. And that worked out really well, which I still do a lot of, is a lot of education through webinars and seminars for different organizations.
Mm-hmm. And so, how did it, so you basically stuck with the virtual webinar, kind of not kind of more flexible path ever since they were toddlers to right now, the 5 and 7.
That's like when Zoom came along and everybody was, I was like, I already know how to do Zoom.
Right? You're like, I'm ahead of the game.
I mean, granted, I didn't know how to use half the features, but I was, you know what I mean? Like,
So
it's
have you
there.
always done do you consider yourself mostly then a facilitator, classroom style leader versus a one-on-one counselor or coach?
That's a great question. I find myself, if you look at my practice, what I'm doing more of, it is more of the webinar style, but the coaching is definitely picking up. And I actually do, like, as I'm getting more and more grounded with it, because I had to do a mental shift from coming from therapy to coaching. It's a very different modality. And just for our listeners to understand.
Yeah, explain that. That's interesting.
Yes. So therapy is looking at the past, right? Trying to make sense. I'm going to break it down a little bit just in my terms again, breaking down our past and making sense of it. And so usually, not always, there's some type of diagnosis typically. And that's the part that I really was never a fan of, right?
Why is that? Why does there need to be a diagnosis to break down the past?
Not always. Not everybody has a clinical diagnosis, but again, diagnosis also leads to billing. So there's like that piece of thing.
Billing, really?
Yes, it does have.
You can't bill without a diagnosis?
I mean, it depends on how the insurance works. So this is
I mean, that's so interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, it all is based on insurance, right?
Unless you cash pay, which is another route.
Yes, totally. But Aimee, that is trying to make sense of our past, and coaching is, again, and then therapists go through an enormous amount of clinical hours and a master's program to become clinicians. So every state has about 3,000, 4,000 hours of supervised.
But you were, so a clinician therapist is what you were.
Yes, but I actually never got licensed because I moved around so much. So I was always under the supervision of someone and had great supervisors. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that therapists work their tail feathers off to get where they are, because they work to get there a long time. And then coaches still have a practice that is embodied by what's called the International Coaching Federation, ICF. Now, every coaching program is different. You've probably seen a lot of people call themselves a life coach or but they're not certified. So I wanted to make sure I was providing quality care. So I got all the necessary. I had to become a professional coach first. Then I became a certified parent, child, family coach. Like I had to layer my program in order to get the grounding.
Tell us more about a certified parent child coach. What is it? What does the training look like? And
yes, sure. So my program at the World Coach Institute, there's a few parenting coaching programs out there that just have you do like maybe a 6-month program. Mine had us do a layer of just professional coaching, learning the ethics, learning the value set. And let me backtrack. Coaching is taking the present and moving forward. So it's a lot of goal setting, a lot of forward momentum, a lot of solution focus. And so, Aimee, anyone who needs to address trauma, like I would refer out to having them go, meet with a therapist. So I always have a bunch of.
I love what you said. Therapy is for assessing or getting something dealt with from the past. Mm-hmm. Coaching is more of, what did you say? A future.
Future and then looking at goals and objectives. And
I love that. Forward. I think that's a nice dichotomy of explaining, do you want therapy or do you want coaching? I've never heard it.
And some people need both at the same time, where they're ready to do all. So they may realize, and to be honest with you, we may see in this new era of post-COVID that people actually really do need to have both. And that's where I want to come on board with getting some grounding with some therapists, where some therapists realize that they also need some coaching and they need both. And that's where that forward movement can happen. Like you can be working on your past, but simultaneously still moving forward, right? That's the goal.
When do people commonly have that like aha moment, like I need a therapist or I need a coach, or either one?
Well, I have seen when they are really feeling like, I can't do this by myself anymore.
Which one, the therapy or the coach, or either?
The therapy. People are still drawn to thinking they need a therapist first. And again, I'm not knocking. Look, I've been in both sides of the spectrum. The needs are based on what the presenting issue is. And I don't call it a problem, because in coaching, we're just looking at it. Oftentimes, right now, a lot of the caseload for me has been there's just a level of anxiety for a lot of the kids. And so I see a lot more with that piece, or social skills. They need social skills. So then we work with that piece, right? So because they have been in isolation for so long. So, and these are kids who might have had normal experiences, but they still have lost their lives in the last year.
And you're seeing kids talking about this to them today?
Yeah, in terms of, yes, post-COVID, what they look like. Yes, for coaching modality. Yes.
So you've started these webinars for the social skills post-COVID?
Oh, well, what we did was in my practice that I was working with, we had social skills groups that basically we did what's called the mental health piece of like the clinical skills, like teaching them self-regulation or anger management. And then we would include yoga and mindfulness. So we co-facilitated.
And what ages is that for?
That was ages 5. We had 2 groups, 5 through 8 and 9 through 12.
Okay, and that was pre-COVID, right?
No, during this
during COVID. Okay. So the social skills piece, where did that come in?
Like teaching them skills within of the group dynamic. Like some of them were always talking over each other. So learning them how to have the engage, even Zoom, you can engage kids to how to slow down and talk, making eye contact. I can tell you Zoom as a platform has really been helpful for teaching social skills. We would teach them how to, I would literally put a dot on my, in the middle of my forehead. They would follow it, making eye contact, teaching them how to engage with their teacher. Sometimes you can look at your camera. Sometimes you can look down. It's okay. Like, and giving them permission.
So what are your hopes for the future?
That's a loaded question, Aimee.
It is a loaded question. I know. But what's the first thing that came to your mind when I asked it?
Hope for the future is that kids and families get to feel like they can, especially kids, that they can do whatever and make their dreams come true. And for those parents to feel like no matter how old they are, if they have aspirations, they can all happen, but to give themselves permission.
I love that. It's so true. What kind of programming mental health programming should we have our kids in as parents from, age 5 to 10?
Yoga.
That's the main one. Why?
I just had a conversation yesterday. His name is Andres Gonzalez. He's the co-founder of this organization called Holistic Life Foundation. And he and his team, these guys came together in inner city Baltimore, and they put together this awesome program, nonprofit, looking at yogas for inner city school. And it has blossomed in the last 15 plus years. But so Aimee, the thing is, all these folks know that it can completely change mindset and can really help empower people and societies in the world. And it's accessible, like it's free, and it's an inward practice and you can't do it wrong. Like I can tell you kids, my daughter may not be good at soccer, but she could be good at basketball. But yoga is actually going to make her be better at whatever sport she's in.
And do you believe there's a difference though doing yoga in like a yoga center versus at home in your living room with Zoom?
So Aimee, I think about whatever floats your boat. Like I have been where my practice was really good when I was going, especially when I was pregnant. Like my prenatal yoga was very helpful and I love meeting with the other moms. Like that was like
me too.
Great.
That was actually what started so much of my journey. Yeah.
Yes. And I can tell you I had a better delivery. I know for a fact I had better delivery because of how truly I was in sync with my body, right? I can honestly tell you.
Amazing.
And those moms that I had met, they're like lifelong friends through that class, actually, even if we don't talk all the time. I just know we carried that journey together.
Yeah.
So Aimee, now, like I'm in a place where I can't fit it into my schedule to go to a class, also COVID, but I've decided I do think I want to add it back in, but I do love practicing in my house too, because I can do whatever I want.
Do you have like set up a little space, like with candles, like a certain room, or just anywhere?
I do have I have yoga mats upstairs, downstairs, but sometimes I don't even have a mat. And I don't even think it's about yoga mat. Sometimes I just remember yoga is mind, body, and breath. I will just sit down and like just to close my, and that's yoga too, and just breathing practice, right? So we can't just
so, yeah, so like 1 minute versus 10 minutes versus a half hour versus a full hour.
If you can get to that, remember that we have different brain waves, and if we can get to that place where we're so in harmony, it could be the best 5 minutes versus 30 minutes of you being
it's so hard. I really, really also need to focus on that part of my life more. Meditation and yoga. I'm a runner, so I like to run, and it's
Yes, for runners especially, it has been found to really, actually in a way you are actually doing yoga when you're running, because you're in the moment. You have to remember, actually, you don't, you know what I mean? I think you're saying sounds like I hear you saying you want to practice more when you're not running, is what I hear you saying.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, because I do agree with you. No, because I think, as similar or different as it is, running is like the same repetitive motion and challenging yourself to like maintain a pace or a speed. But then the yoga, challenges you in different ways because you're moving through the different poses. And each pose, some might be easier for you, some might be harder for you, but running, it's a little different.
It is different. But see, this is a part of yoga where you let's say between meetings, you just close your eyes and you go in and it's almost like taking a little power nap for 2 minutes, and you'll reset, and you literally give oxygen to your mind. You're reset. What time do you wake up in the morning? Don't ask me my crazy schedule. It's really
come on, tell us your crazy schedule.
Oh no, because I work at night, and I'm a night owl. So right now my kids are at home. When they're in school, then I would be up at 6:30. Right now I'm it's 7:38.
I know. No, me too. One of my goals is to start waking up earlier again too. Because I think last year threw us all off a little.
Totally. But I'm also working night. I don't know about you. I just do better at working at nighttime, especially when you're a business owner. A lot of it you can catch up on stuff at night.
Yeah. Well, kind of. The night, sometimes I'm so tired by the time my kids go to bed that I just want to go to bed.
Oh my God, that happens to me all the time too. Last week I was just mother, okay, I'm out,
Right, yeah. Cool. So you guys got any plans for the summer?
We're going down to Florida for a week with my husband's side of the family. And then I'm just actually, interesting enough, you asked me, I was signing the girls up for some camps. There's a golf camp.
Oh, cool. Golf camp?
Yes. So YMCA has this partnership with our Hampton Roads. I live in Virginia Beach, and so I encourage our listeners to look at different options around your community. They are great partnerships for schools and programs for kids.
Through the YMCA?
Through the YMCA.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I think this has been really helpful. I think I hope to continue to collaborate with you. I think the work you're doing for families and kids is really helpful. So thank you so much. And how can people find you?
Yes, for sure. The website is www.loveandlight4kids, the number 4, Kidz LLC.com.
And we'll put it in the show notes.
And sorry, I was reading you off my email.
It's okay. Any final words of advice or just things you want to communicate?
Yes, Aimee, I always like to end with the message of just being really kind and patient and loving to yourself, because really just give yourself a pat on the back, even when no one else does, and give yourself a squeeze and a hug, because everybody's in it together. And
what kind of information can people find on your website?
Oh, on the website we have I just had to transfer a bunch of stuff, but I have a blog that I sometimes will post onto. I do post a lot onto my Instagram, which is Love and Light for Kidz. I do a lot on Instagram. Great. And then my Facebook page is linked to Instagram. And then I'm trying to get my YouTube channel launched with different things. And I recently just did a virtual tips for Voice of America. They asked me to do a segment, and it was about a 3-minute segment on virtual tips.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Aimee, for having me and your audience. Thank you.
For more, please visit www.momsofmaternity.com.